I was just going to put up the raw DVR recording of the first flight, but after I got back I noticed I had a few wobbles. At first I thought it was just me getting used to it, and then I realised I was getting quite severe oscillations. So couldn't do much with the previous Betaflight, which was version 432. So I found out how to flash it up to 442, and that made things a lot better. But the real breakthrough was watching a video put up by Nick Burns where he's tuning a 6S Cinewhoop, and the key thing there was something called thrust linearization. He went up to 110 to get rid of wobbles. I just searched on Betaflight wobbles and up it came. I'm now at 130, which seems to have ironed it out nicely. That was the main thing. So I've got a lot to learn about PID tuning, but I feel I'm on my way, and it's now at a point where I can land reasonably smoothly, or with a bit more effort. So I'll do more, but I'm a lot happier with it than I was when I first realised how bad those oscillations could be. So here we go. So this is more of an attempt for a controlled landing than the first one. I'm pretty happy with how it's set down there. So with that, on to the first flight, the very first flight of this rig. It was bouncing a bit, but I took off fast and that seemed to smooth it out. So at first I'm just circling around in a fairly localized area, having never flown this before, just to make sure it's not going to go weird on me. I was assuming that the range would be pretty good, so I wasn't too worried about that. I had set up a low battery warning, because without that it could drain the battery and drop, so that was important. So a bit of circling, and then off for a bit of height. So I'm playing with the throttle to try and get rid of that slight wobble. It's more noticeable on DVR recording than if I hung a GoPro underneath it. I had no intention of putting a GoPro under it until I had a bit more confidence. So it's more wobbly seen in DVR compared to the smoothing you get with the GoPro. So getting a bit of height here, and with the battery I was trying to tell me the actual voltage reading, but I couldn't figure that out, so it just says low voltage when it gets down to about 11.5. RSI with the jumper and the Bugs 3, I get an actual RSI reading, and I want the same thing under Betaflight and ELRS. I'm sure it's possible. The other interesting thing I found peering through Betaflight is that this thing has a barometer, so you can actually get it to, it's noticing the height and it's translating into meters. So I'd love to get a readout to tell me if I'm up around 120 meters, say, or whatever. So there's something else to work on. But overall, for a pretty raw build with running defaults, I was pretty happy with the first flight. It's only as I went back home and got into it a bit more that I found out I had this really severe oscillation. It wasn't just me not being able to come down smoothly. One of the disappointing things under 432 was there's air mode that's supposed to do away with the problem I had with the Bugs 3, which is if you throttle right down, you can cut out. Unfortunately, air mode caused the motors to race madly, and people were suggesting things like, oh, you put it on a switch, so you just turn it on once you're in the air, turn it off for landing. At the moment I've got air mode disabled, but I'll do some more flying with the latest tune and see how it feels. But I felt it would be good to get this up straight away, just to give you a feel for someone who's pretty new to Betaflight. I mean, I had a look at it 4 years ago and I was pretty unimpressed. I had a VTX, I bought a so-called bind and fly. I had to learn Betaflight enough to set the throttle setting because it wouldn't even take off on me. Then I was noticing how much things are overheating, and I thought I'll come back in sometime in the future and see if it's a bit better. It is a lot better, but also, as people point out to me, this is not like DJI. It's not a full-blown consumer product with a multi-million-dollar company behind it. This is some really keen and clever enthusiasts putting together something as a public service. And once I got into that mind frame, I thought, well, yeah, I really appreciate what they're doing here. Ultimately, I suppose one of the things I want to do, I want to get to acro mode, because even though I'm mainly a cinematic flyer, the idea is with acro mode I should be able to do a better job leveling the horizon if I feel like it, and also fly sideways through gaps if it's called for. So looking forward to doing a few things and seeing where I go. So just doing a few low loops, and I think I'm realizing as I come towards the end of the flight that landing is not going to be as simple as it should be. The more I try to use fine motor control to control the throttle, the closer I get to oscillations. As I say, later it got, in testing, it got really bad, to the point where it was quite violent, and I had to reset the accelerometer. I was looking to reset the gyro, which is what I'm used to doing with the Bugs 3, but even though it's got a gyro and an accelerometer and a barometer, with Betaflight you seem to reset the accelerometer when it's flat and level, and that worked. That sort of reduced the bounce a bit. But as I say, the ultimate thing was to realise that Betaflight 432 came out about the same time as this flight control board did, and better just to get up to the modern version, which I've done. So on with the adventure. So you can see the wobble there, really obvious. So aborted the landing, circling around, lining up. Bang, I'm down. So that's it. Bye for now.